Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 2 of the 814 Sports Report. Chris Sohl, Logan Lepiscopo, and I think, Logan, for our first episode, not too shabby. We'll hit on some of the similar topics, but lots more to talk about. You ready?
Yeah, let's dive in. Let's start with some of the high school and college. Last night, Chris, you were at Mercyhurst for the women's semifinal against LIU. Tough way to go out, but what an effort by the team. Started 0-12 and made their way there.
Erin Mills-Reed is such an admirable head coach. The way she was able to get all those girls together. And Logan, so much youth on that team. So many sophomores. Lena Waltz, the sophomore. Obviously a couple of seniors as well. But just to go from 0-12 to 15-16, win all of those conference games. You have a young team. They battled hard against LIU. Were down for double digits. Got it to single digits. Fought throughout. Just an admirable effort all around, and just the basketball in general that we've been watching has been really high quality stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll be posting this on Friday, of course. First day you'll be able to see this. We're recording this Thursday night. Chris is going to be heading to women's basketball at IUP, a big one for the region. Gannon drawing Edinboro in the first round. How about that one?
Well, Logan, every time I talk to those two coaches, they say it's the PSAC Wild West for a reason. Really competitive stuff. Cleve Wright has his girls playing at a high level, and both teams so skilled. They play hard, they're physical, they're intense. It's going to be a difficult game, but the high school scene has been really interesting as well. A couple big upsets, obviously Cathedral Prep going down to Obama Academy. That was a shocker to be at, but on a more positive note, Mercyhurst Prep continues their surge as they take down the Ulsh Chargers. That was a really impressive win. Nobody fires you up more than Sean Bear.
Sean Bear, he's quite the guy to watch on the sideline, moving around. You showed the video after the game, him jumping around, shoulder checking his guys, glasses flying off. They're really looking forward to it. They're playing the Jeanette team that ended their season last year in the first round of the playoffs.
Maybe some revenge there.
And we mentioned 2010, the last time they got this far. That 2010, they also made it to the semifinal. So they were able to get past this round 16 years ago. See if they're able to do it again. But yeah, very shocking to see how fast we've seen our high school teams really fall down.
Yeah, it's they've had incredible seasons, but the two back-to-back doubleheaders at Sharon Tuesday and Wednesday, we saw Cathedral Prep go down. Shout out to Northwestern, an incredible season for them.
Yep.
Kayla Presser-Palmer, one of the most incredible athletes we've covered since I started here about 9 years ago. She's incredible to speak with, even more incredible on the court. She had 32 out of 36 points. That just puts into perspective how impressive she was. Harbor Creek, an incredible year under their first-year head coach. Dave Snippert, he did a great job with that program. Ariana Denning was a fantastic senior for them all season long. A pleasure to work with them all year long. And Logan, I know a lot of these teams losing, but bright futures ahead for a lot of them.
Yeah, you mentioned Mercyhurst Prep. They're moving on. We also have Erie First Christian. They're playing. When you're seeing this, it'll be the night of Friday night. They're at Clarion University looking to move on to the semifinals of the 1A bracket. And just to hit on real quick for the rest of college hoops, we had both Penn State Barron teams win their conference titles, make it to the D3 tournament, and Gannon men, they get to host the regional. So a chance to redeem themselves from losing the conference. And, I talked to Easton Bozzoli, talked to the guys on the team. They're mad. They're mad that they lost that conference.
They don't like to lose those guys.
But, Chris, you've been able to watch all the programs around here, all the young players. Rowan Carmichael, Rookie of the Year at Edinboro for the PSAC West. Just plenty of talent around here. Your first general thoughts, impressions of college basketball in Erie?
Yeah, Mercyhurst is obviously a Division I program, but you go to Edinboro and Gannon and even schools like Allegheny, Penn State Barron, and they're not Division I schools, but they have talent on their team. And when you're not a Division I school, I think the way these kids come together and they play, there's a special sense of camaraderie and family when you're playing in a D2, D3 environment. When I was a lacrosse player at Ithaca, we were not the 5-star D1 recruits, but we had a little grit to us, a little extra oomph in our game. And just to see the passion that these players have for the sport has been really incredible. And hopefully for us, we can continue to see some of these teams win and cover them deep into the playoffs. Gannon and Edinboro. Unfortunately, one of them is going to have to go home, but I'm excited to see that game. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Cleve Wright, Callie Wheeler do it on a stage where, as they've said, win or go home. It's the end of the season for somebody here in the region. The other moves on to the Sweet 16 for the Division II. But Chris, a lot of great local stuff, a lot of great national stuff in free agency for the NFL. We're going to dive in. We'll talk a little bit about our favorite teams later on, but let's hit on the region teams first with the Buffalo Bills. Not a ton of moves. They started strong, adding DJ Moore, added Bradley Chubb later in free agency. What's your general thoughts, impressions of how Buffalo has gone as we prepare for the draft?
Well, I think with the little cap room and assets they had, I think they did a pretty solid job. You know, Bradley Chubb is a player that is very intriguing to me. He's dealt with a lot of injuries throughout his career, but as he said to the Buffalo media, and rightfully so, he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. This was a guy who was a high draft pick. He peaked in his career, and injuries have kind of slowly derailed him, but he's staying in the AFC East. I look for him to be an impact add. You know, as we've said so many times, this team is going to go as far as Josh Allen. We'll see we'll see what they do as the season progresses and how the defense performs. But I like Bradley Chubb, and honestly, I love the DJ Moore pick. There is no wide receiver excuse anymore. You have a guy in the prime of his career, can stretch the field. He's sure-handed. He's got all the traits. You can't use that as an excuse anymore. So they need to figure out how to bring this defense together, how to play well in late in the season. But I really like what the Bills did. Logan, the Steelers, the team you've covered all year, they made some pretty important adds on both sides of the ball. Thoughts on the black and gold?
I think the black and gold, other than your QB position right now, you've nailed it.
Jamel Dean, they got Jaquan Brisker for pretty cheap.
I don't think you can look at this Steelers free agency class and see much of a downside. You trade for Michael Pittman Jr., get him a nice deal. I will say I feel like DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman Jr. are kind of wide receiver twos paired up now. They're not really a true alpha in that offense, which may be good for them. Gets their tight ends more involved with Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington. They also bring in Rico Dowdle.
I like that sneaky sign.
I think he's going to be a great complementary back to Jalen Warren after Kenneth Gainwell left for Tampa Bay. But yeah, you mentioned Jamel Dean, Jaquan Brisker. The secondary was definitely a weak point of that defense, as we saw throughout the season. A lot of passing yards given up. Jamel Dean and Joey Porter Jr., two really big corners on the outside. And then you have Jalen Ramsey. If he stays a part of the team, could play your slot nickel role, or they brought Asante Samuel Jr. back. He could also play that slot nickel role. So I think Pittsburgh has done a great job. Once we figure out who's throwing the football to the guys on the field, I think fans will be a lot more comfortable with where they could be in the AFC North.
Yeah, I will say, I saw an analyst say this the other day, and I kind of agree with it. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, you know, he's a guy that succeeds off of your yards after catch guy. I'm not sure that Michael Pittman really fits that mold well. It's going to be interesting to see the dynamic between him and DK Metcalf. Two guys who, you know, DK Metcalf can definitely get you yards after the catch, but two more vertical threats, physical wide receivers. It'll be interesting to see how they do. Cleveland completely revamping the offensive line.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they had everybody was a free agent in Cleveland, and they pretty much plugged every hole. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. That, again, another team who's kind of searching for an answer at the quarterback. What is Todd Monken going to be able to do with that team? Where do they go in the NFL draft will be interesting. But outside of the offensive line, Cleveland pretty quiet. All right, let's go to some of the bigger moves, guys that were signed, you know, the Trey Hendricksons of the world. Maybe your favorite move, and maybe a move you think is a little overrated right now.
Well, I think before that, we have to address the elephant in the room with the Max Crosby situation. I've seen a lot of people.
You're a Raiders fan. Give it to our people.
And being a Raiders fan, I just want to give that insight because a lot of people have been blowing this up, especially, I hate to throw them out there, our Steelers and Browns fans have been asking for some type of consequence for Baltimore.
Well, they take away their picks and take away money.
Give them back to the Raiders and let them keep Max Crosby. Nothing's official until Wednesday at 4.
That's true.
Absolutely nothing. And we talk behind the scenes about how dumb it is that you can start talking Monday, but still nothing is official until Wednesday at 4. So
there's a reason that happens, folks. That's not just some placeholder to, just you know, the fine print at the bottom of the screen. There's a reason it happens till Wednesday. Physicals are important. And, you know, you can
Yes.
criticize Baltimore for saying, well, Crosby was hurt and we knew that and whatever, but this is part of the process, and this is why trades don't always go through.
Yeah, I personally, as a Raiders fan now, after seeing all the off-season moves, why not hold on to Max Crosby? Like,
You have all this money, you sign half the NFL.
You spend all your money. You've got a great-looking defense now, projected to take the Heisman Trophy national champion Fernando Mendoza to be hopefully the next franchise quarterback. If you're not getting a Baltimore-sized offer, you know, a top-half first-round pick, a pick next year, why move him? Why take less than what you were going to get?
Well, speaking of Baltimore, you took their center for a hefty tag. How you feeling about Mr. Linderbaum?
Yeah, I'm sorry about having to take that from your Giants.
We'll talk. I'll let you go first, and then I'll give my thoughts.
All
I'm
right.
not that heartbroken, but yes, he's a good player.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a hefty price to pay, and no pun intended with him being an O-lineman and hefty, but $27 million a year.
Resetting the market.
Completely. I mean, Creed Humphrey, who arguably has been the best center in the NFL, is making $9 million less a year. So definitely resetting the market for what's to come for centers. But an offensive line that was not very good, couldn't stay healthy last year. I think it's a big move, and John Leidick and I were discussing about how that can be a huge component to the Clint Kubiak offense. Having a center that can recognize, you know, he's the Mike, or, you know, he's coming in on a corner blitz. Like, having a center that is able to make those calls for a rookie quarterback still learning to be a pro, I think that's absolutely huge for the Raiders.
Linderbaum, also a very athletic center.
Yes,
We know
he
how
is.
much motion that Clint Kubiak likes to use in his offensive line. Another interesting point John Leidick brought up is the Raiders obviously had a lot of money to spend this summer. And
Ton of
yes,
cash.
Tyler Linderbaum, you could argue his contract is overpaid. But what people fail to realize is the percentage of the cap that he accounts for,
Yeah.
which isn't as high just because I think you said it was below 10% or something like
Yeah.
that. Just because the Raiders had so much money to spend, they're obviously going to have to overpay for a guy like that. And
Yeah.
would I loved him in New York? Of course. But I
New
think,
Jersey, but-
yeah, New Jersey, East Rutherford, whatever you want to say. But I liked the Giants addressing the right side of the offensive line, shoring up Jermaine Illuminor at the right tackle, rather than
Former Raider.
rather than Tyler Linderbaum. But yeah, definitely a great get for you guys. All right, outside of the Crosby Raiders stuff, maybe a move that you really liked, maybe the value could be usurped versus a move that you're saying, I'm not so sure about that one.
Let's go with a team and move I really liked. I think Tennessee's had a really good offseason, and
Tennessee Giants, that's
yes,
what they're
the
calling
Tennessee
them now.
Giants. I'm gonna throw out one of those guys, Wan'Dale Robinson. I think he was on the board for a lot of wide receiver needy teams. Probably the Buffalo Bills were hoping they could have probably got him at a little bit of a discount, but Tennessee was right on it. I think that was the very first move announced of the free agency window. So I think he's just going to be a great add for Cam Ward, help him develop in that second year. Obviously,
He's a beast.
you'd be able to attest more watching the Giants consistently, but I think that is a big get for a young second year now quarterback looking to develop. We saw how big he was for a rookie like Jackson Dart.
Yeah, he's a beast. He plays hard. Shout out Mike Fenner over at Jet24 Sports. He's a big Titans fan. Mike, you're going to really like this kid. Really good hands, really tough receiver. He falls to the ground a lot. He's able to maintain possession of the ball. And a guy that I just think is ascending. It's funny, though. He's the shortest wide receiver in the NFL. He's going to play for a team called the Giants and the Titans.
How about that?
That's a funny one. But yeah, he rightfully got a big payday. I'm excited to see what he did.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Alec Pierce, which I'll kind of turn to now as one that I don't know if it will turn into what
He got a lot of money.
Indianapolis is
Yeah,
hoping
he
for.
got a lot of money.
It's like I think it's $29 million a year,
Yeah.
something like that. Look,
And he took a cut to stay there.
Yeah.
So he could have gotten even more.
I understand a guy had a little bit over 1,000 yards and less than 50 receptions, I think, or the yards per reception was astronomical. Like,
Yeah.
by far led the NFL. But I just don't know about paying him $29 million a year. Like, yes, you brought Daniel Jones back for a pair of those years, but I just don't think that Alec Pierce is worth that much. And especially trading Michael Pittman Jr., like, you are banking on this guy to be
Colts
your
have
true
taken
one.
so many risks between betting on Daniel Jones, acquiring Sauce Gardner, trading away your first-round picks. Then Daniel Jones tears his Achilles. The team falls apart.
Yep.
You re-sign Daniel Jones for a hefty ticket, and now you trade away your proven wide receiver one, and you sign the guy who had a breakout year. The Colts are rolling the dice. I can't say I love it, but I definitely don't hate it. In order to win in the National Football League, you got to take risks. Okay, one move that I just can't get over is the Kenneth Walker signing.
This is a love or a hate?
This is a hate.
Okay, all right.
This is a hate. The Kansas City Chiefs are past their days. Okay,
Okay.
maybe they're going to be a good team. I've been on this show before. I've been on multiple shows before hating on the Kansas City Chiefs. Just the fact that Patrick Mahomes is hurt. Travis Kelce, they brought him back. He's old. There's so many question marks. The Chiefs are not a running back away. A team that would have thrived signing a guy like Kenneth Walker is a contender who's maybe a running back away. That is a luxury pick. For one signing that I love, a little bit overpaid. I think Mike Evans to the San Francisco 49ers could be really dangerous. What did the 49ers lack last year? Wide receiver depth, a lot of guys injured. They were so many injuries, defense, offense, and they won 13 games. That is a great team that can afford to acquire an elite weapon like Mike Evans. I don't think the Chiefs are there yet to get a guy like Kenneth Walker. They're in a weird stage. They're trying to squeeze everything out of Patrick Mahomes, and I get it. Generational type quarterback, but I don't love it. I don't love it for Kansas City. They gave him a lot of money. I think it was $15 million a year.
It's close to I think he might be top 3, top 5.
That's a lot of dough for a running back. And Kenneth Walker's great. I saw him dominate the Super Bowl, but this is borderline top 10 back, getting top 5 money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of money, and I don't think that is what the Chiefs need. Okay, I might be a little biased here. I thought the Giants got Jermaine Illuminor for it, an absolute steal at $13 million a year.
He should be a Raider still.
He's been a top 10 right tackle over the past 2 years. Him and Andrew Thomas anchoring that side have been a top 5 tackle duo. Maybe last year at points they were playing really, really well. He got $13 million a year. His market was around 18 and 19, so that's a rare steal for my Giants, but I'm excited to see what he does the next couple years.
Yeah, I want to go back to the Mike Evans. A lot of people, I think, are starting to be ready to write Mike Evans off. The 1,000-yard streak is broken.
How? He's the most consistent guy in the 2010s. It's incredible.
The guy got hurt, came back to play, and wasn't playing because he knew he wasn't going to catch that 1,000-yard mark. He simply came back from that injury to play football. Like you said, San Francisco's used to dealing with injuries. Maybe that was why it was a great fit. They think he's going to stay consistently injured. Might as well put him on the 49ers. But, no, I think Mike Evans still has a lot in the tank, and he still has a lot to prove. He said in his interview when he was being introduced to the 49ers, he said that team won 13 games last year. I think that they were one piece away, and I am that one piece.
He's a guy that can talk the talk, but can walk the walk. Because there's nobody more consistent than Mike Evans. And that is a quote-unquote shiny toy that will make a team better. Not throwing him on some bad team and hoping he has a good season. He is going to win them games because the nucleus of their group is so talented.
Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, if George Kittle stays on the field, if Ricky Pearsall, I know it's a lot of ifs, if all these guys can stay on the field.
It's tough.
They won 13 games with all those, if they can stay healthy, getting hurt. Let's not forget, Brock Purdy missed a big chunk of the season.
You got Mac Jones. People talking about Mac Jones being the Steelers quarterback because of how good he was.
Yeah.
What do you think of Malik Willis, by the way? That was probably the biggest quarterback signing. I think he got less than what people thought. But
yeah, I'm glad he went for less than what people thought, because if he went for that $30+ million range like people were picking, I mean, I still think that does not help Miami. I think Miami is still one of the biggest losers of free agency. Cool. You shipped Tua off, brought in another unproven quarterback in Malik Willis. He threw less than 50 passes last year. And we're throwing this guy almost $30 million a year.
Sometimes when you have the saying, big fish in a small pond. This was a small pond with no fish in it.
Yeah.
No quarterbacks. There's no
like
quarterback
guppies.
class, and there was no elite options. So he gets the money because the pick of the litter is so thin.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Justin Fields to the Jets' last free agency. You're paying him this money, banking on the upside, hoping that his mobility helps. You got Devon Achane, you got Jalen Waddle on offense. Their defense, horrendous.
Don't make it Fitzpatrick anymore. He goes to the Jets.
Yeah, we talked at the end of last year. We're looking at the cornerback rooms. Terrible, absolutely terrible. Whether the guys were healthy or not, they made no upgrades either. So. I'm glad Miami at least paid less than $30 million for Malik Willis, but still think it was a lot of cheddar to be handing over.
Well, let's go to the other side of that. A team I'm really interested in to see what they do. They hire former Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. Is what do you think? Number one, who's going to be the starter, and how do you think the Falcons are this year, having not one but two left-handed quarterbacks?
Well, number one, anything is possible with Bijan Robinson on the field. I think, without a shadow of doubt, is the best running back overall in the NFL. Might be able to put McCaffrey, Gibbs up in the conversation, but from running the ball to catching the ball, shiftiness, I don't think you can get much better. You got Drake London, tagged Kyle Pitts. Stefanski's a defensive-minded guy, and I think that's where Atlanta really needed some help, was to develop a defense. Now, did they make the necessary moves to do that? We'll find out week one. But in terms of that quarterback situation, it's a mess.
You got two guys who are
bad.
completely injury prone. Penix with his knees, Tua with the concussions. We've seen Kevin Stefanski be able to turn around inexperienced quarterbacks and get a lot out of an offense. And there are weapons, but again, the way, as soon as they signed Kirk Cousins, they have just completely destroyed what could have been. You bring Cousins in and, regardless of him playing well, drafting Michael Penix that high in the first round doesn't sit well with the guy mentally. Cousins is dealing with injuries. Penix comes in. Now he tears his ACL. And then you bring in, what is the vision with Tua? I don't get it.
I get you could bring him in, cheap deal, whatever. Maybe it's we're going to prove Tua can be a starter in the NFL. But it doesn't fix where they're at in that division, because I still think Carolina's ahead of them. I still think Tampa Bay's ahead of them. New Orleans has had a pretty good offseason. Do they make the jump for the top of that division? It's a cluster.
Tyler Shuck going to do? Yeah.
It's a cluster in the NFC South. Let's hop over. But free agency pretty much dwindled down. We're pretty much wrapped up. Kyler Murray going to Minnesota was really the last big thing we were looking at. Preparing for the draft. Let's just each go. Our three teams: Bills, Browns, Steelers. What would you say their biggest need still is as they get ready to take these first-round selections?
I was talking with Philip Ward on iHeartRadio in Rochester, and just talking about how, and we said in the playoffs, Buffalo has always been able to score. You finally get DJ Moore, you have your wide receiver. I think as long as Buffalo goes anything defense, especially on the outside, I think that's a positive move for them. I think if the Cleveland Browns can get a playmaker on offense, I think David Njoku's not going to be there anymore. I don't know how much you trust Jerry Jeudy and Quinshon Judkins coming off an injury. They need a playmaker. They need an alpha weapon, running back, receiver. I'm not sure who it's going to be, but they need a playmaker. And for Pittsburgh, it's tough because you kind of have the 9-8. That reality is there. 10-7, and all they got better this offseason. I really do think. I actually like some of their signings, but I think that Pittsburgh needs to go through a period of losing and recoup your assets and really get a star quarterback. And this is a really thin quarterback class. And Pittsburgh is really interesting. They don't have a clear weakness for me. I think going offensive line is never a bad idea, but now they have a couple receivers. They're just going to be competitive. And I just don't think they're going to be worse than competitive, but I don't think they're going to be better than competitive. So Pittsburgh is really a wild card for me in the draft. What about you?
Yeah, let's go for Buffalo. I totally agree. If you take a wide receiver with that first-round pick, you are essentially you're tossing it. You're throwing it away. You're content with picking another receiver that might not turn into be anything. We've already seen with Keon Coleman. What can he step up and do in year 3? So I think defense for Buffalo for sure. With the signing of Bradley Chubb, maybe you still attack an edge rusher if one falls to you that late in the draft. If not, I think this is a really good safety class. I think that, they just signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That could be a permanent solution if you draft a safety, give them a year to learn under C.J. Gardner-Johnson. For the Cleveland Browns, I totally agree. You got to find a wide receiver somewhere.
If Shedeur is gonna take a step, he needs somebody who's gonna make plays. It's not about just running a good. They need somebody who, regardless of the situation, bad play, can make plays.
Yeah, like you have Harold Fannin Jr., who really showed out his rookie year despite battling injuries. Quinshon Judkins, you already mentioned. You just can't trust Jerry Jeudy. We saw flashes of Isaiah Bond, but he's just a take it off the top guy. You need someone that is a fourth down, we need it. This is the guy we're throwing the football
Throw the ball
to.
within the vicinity of the guy, and he's going to make a play.
Yeah, you need a wide receiver. If they don't go receiver, I mean, I know they revamped the O-line a lot, but do you have a lot of guys that are going to be there long-term?
Yeah, a lot of 2 or 3 year contracts.
So maybe get a guy you can get a 5th-year option on, make him kind of be a franchise guard, tackle, wherever you need him. And then Pittsburgh, yeah, I honestly couldn't tell you other than quarterback what they really need. Like running back, you got a 2-headed beast with Warren and Dowdle. Receivers, you're missing a number 3, but are you going to use a first-round pick to draft your 3rd, maybe 4th target option in the offense? I don't think you do that.
I don't understand the Steelers, man.
Yeah, like you said, they're going to be competitive. They're going to sneak in 9-8, 10-7 somehow. I'd say right now, my pick would probably be, and I know I said it for Buffalo, but safety. I think safety is a solution that Pittsburgh's been looking for. They just brought in Jaquan Brisker on a 1-year deal, which odd for how young he is to sign a 1-year deal for less than $6 million. But maybe that's a position, a reason why Pittsburgh only gave him 1 year. Maybe they're really looking hard into that position. I think there's probably 3 safeties that could go in the first round of this draft. Obviously, none of our teams have a chance at Caleb Downs. Maybe Cleveland does. But, I think it's been a pretty solid offseason for all of our region teams.
A lot of interesting stuff. And, of course, if you're a fan watching at home, the NFL offseason is where everybody gets their hopes up.
Yep.
And then we can't truly grade what happens and talk about these moves until a year later. Maybe Kenneth Walker's going to rush for 2,000 yards next year. The Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, and I'm going to look like an idiot. But
please don't.
We don't know what's going to happen. The NFL draft will be exciting. Free agency has been exciting. This has been, Logan, the 2nd episode of the 814 Sports Report.
We switched the spot.
Got a little better microphone, and we hope you guys enjoyed. But for Logan Lepiscopo, I'm Chris Sohl. We'll catch you in the next one.